Hello, hello, hello. I don't even think I pushed the button, but here I am. Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody to Get Crackin' on Christmas. Why I sing and dance that, I have no idea. It's just something I started and now it has stuck. So welcome, welcome. It is December 2025. This is the last Get Crackin' on Christmas for this year. I will be carrying this initiative on in the new year. You guys will have to let me know. Now, no judgment at all. There's never any judgment from me. But let me know in the chat. Were you able to get some holiday cards created and out? Are you still working on them? That's totally okay. Mine have not officially gone out in the mail yet. So I'm still filling them out and addressing envelopes. I'm in that boat. But let me just explain quickly for those of you that might be new here. Get Crackin' on Christmas started several years ago. Shari, one of my besties, and I were chatting about how we didn't get any holiday cards created, and we were kind of bummed about that. We had purchased a couple new holiday products, and we both really enjoyed sending out holiday cards. So we were a little bummed. It was January. We were kind of like, oh, we missed that boat. And so we started a challenge among friends just to create one holiday card a month and post it on our blog. And that posting it on our blog was kind of holding ourselves accountable. And so several years later, here I am. I am still doing it. I find that if I have a goal or somewhat of a deadline, I'm more apt to get things done. So, and I personally don't like to create multiples of a card. Now, sometimes you'll see I'll make like 3 or 2 of a card. But I send around 100. This year it's going to be around 118 cards. And I personally just don't like to make 118 of the same cards. So what I like about Get Crackin' on Christmas, albeit it is a little odd in April and May and June to me making holiday cards, I like it because it gives me the time each month to go through my supplies, maybe see some holiday supplies I haven't played with yet, or maybe I haven't played with in a while, and grab those and create. It also just gives me a little bit more time because I don't feel so rushed. So I'm more apt to try a different technique or really enjoy taking a long time to color, or whatever it may be. And so doing this each month, come the fall months, I always say those fall months, September, October, November, December, just go by so fast. And if you're crafty, which I'm assuming you are because you're here joining me either live or on replay, crafty people during the holidays, it goes by so fast because we have so many different things we want to do, right? And I see some people in the chat mentioning that they haven't gotten any cards done and they're feeling bad about that. I do not want anybody to feel bad about not getting anything done. This is not a pointing fingers or placing blame on anybody. I am going to keep posting Get Crackin' on Christmas because it helps me get cards done. And if it inspires you to create just one card next year, it's a win-win, right? So I'm seeing Denise got 164 cards done. Her goal was 225. Well, Denise, I think 165 is amazing. Yuko did a Christmas card challenge for the first time this year. They went out on December 1st. That is amazing. She says next year, if I do your Get Crackin' next year, maybe I'll do another exchange next year. I love that. Somebody else made about 150, and also doesn't like to make them all the same. And Pam did a lot of theirs during Christmas in July. I love that. I think that's super fun. It's hard for me with the YouTube names to know what your real names are. That's why I'm just kind of reading some of these if I can't tell right away what your name is. And then, yeah, a few people are saying they don't like to do multiples because it kind of gets boring. And yeah, I'm going to sneeze. Maybe. Sorry. I feel a tickle coming on. So anyways, get cracking on Christmas. Here we are. It's December. We're going to flip the camera and get started. I am playing with some really fun Trinity Stamps, stamps and dies. Trinity Stamps is often a sponsor of my Creative Journey art retreats. Tanisa is the sweetest. I will also just mention, because I saw Libby and Brienne's in the chat, Tanisa has a lot of Shirk merch crafty gear, so she might be in the runnings for beating you guys out of your numbers. Just saying. Okay, so let's flip the screen. All of the supplies that I am using are linked over on my website, which I've had that link here on the screen. It's pinned in the chat. The visual supply list is pinned in the chat. And it's also in the description of this video. So yay, yay, yay. So I chatted a little bit about this on my Instagram stories this morning when I was chatting about how it is get cracking on Christmas. And I saw a reel recently how in the winter months, especially if you actually have real winter where the leaves go away, the flowers go away, and everything gets really gray. Also, if you think about it, all of our clothing, like if you're shopping for clothes, everything gets all neutral, right? It's all blacks and grays and browns. And I feel like this time of year, I mean, gosh, seasonal depression, there's no color to brighten up our day. And I think that's why I am more prone to do non-traditional holiday cards. So I'll do like pink and lime green, or I like to rock a good rainbow. I just can't help it. I love a good rainbow. I think to get this in your mailbox in those winter months is just going to make you smile. And I think that is amazing. So I always share what markers I used, and this time I broke it up to show what colors I used for each of the rainbow colors. I thought that that would be helpful for this especially. A few of you guys are checking their stash. They might already own this stamp set. So this is the stamp set from Trinity Stamps. It's called Snow Stacks. And I absolutely love the sentiments as well. I actually was going to do large letters with the word stack and break up the sentiment a bit, but it didn't work out. So we'll talk about what I did instead as we get going. I love it. Marianne just said that she's telling me which username is hers, but I already knew that because she said it was Jack's #1 fan. So I knew Marianne from the Rabbit Hole Designs was here. I love that. So I am going to start working on this card. So I pre-stamped and die cut things, and often when I'm working with snow people, I like to stamp my images in a gray instead of a black. So Lawn Fawn has River Rock, which is also alcohol marker friendly. It's also watercolor friendly, and you can also use it with colored pencils. And so this is their gray version of their black ink pad. And I just like that it gives a little bit more of a subtle look to things. It doesn't look so harsh, which is truly how snowmen would look if we had real life snowmen, which, by the way, I love snow people and snowflakes and all of the snowy things, but only on paper. I don't want real life snowmen and I don't want real life snowflakes because I don't love winter. That's just how I roll. Thank you, Miss Brienne. She is linking everything in the chat for me. I love that. I appreciate it. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with coloring. And I'm going to just kind of go in rainbow order. So I'm going to start with my pinks. And I don't always, but I will tend to throw in a little bit of R35 so that I can make it a little bit of a richer pink, a little bit more like red. And so that's what I did here. So this little guy on the right is going to be my pink snow person. So I'm going to add just a touch of this R35 just to deepen up that pink and give it a little bit of hint of red. And you don't need a lot, just need a little bit to get things going. And that's when I'll now go into my RV13 and I'm just going to dab where I added that red, just to blend the two together. Alcohol-based markers, you want to make sure you're saturating the cardstock so things will blend. On the scarf, we got a little bit more room to work, so I'm going to extend this dark pink so it's its true version, not mixing with any colors. Mary says, question, would you have an Olo marker comparison to the Copics you're using? So I haven't gotten into doing Olo marker comparisons for all of my blog posts, Mary. Starting in August of 2025, I have started to share Olo comparisons for all of my online classes. And I'll just be honest, it does take quite a bit of time. So I haven't been doing it for blog posts just yet. That doesn't mean I won't do that going forward into 2026, but I don't have one for today's post. I apologize. But I will just say I'm new to Olos and I haven't been coloring them with them a ton. So when I do create my Olo comparison, I take my Copic chart and a little scratch of cardstock, and I just scribble right next to and kind of lay it to it. You'll actually see, like, I got lots of swatches over here to figure out what colors match. So that's how I do it. So having my Copic chart will be helpful. And Libby's also mentioning that Sandy Alnack has a Copic and Olo chart on her website, so you can check that out as well. Hello. Hi, Laura. I love it. Okay. Yeah. If you guys have, questions, putting the word question at the beginning is helpful for me, so that I don't miss your question. Now the little, candy cane up here, I ended up doing pink stripes instead of red because that's just how I roll. That is just how I roll. So I'm going to put my pinks away and I am going to grab my oranges next. And I wanted it to be kind of a soft orange. I didn't want it to be, I wanted it to be a little bit more pastel. So I'm using YR12, YR02, and YR00. And so this little guy over here is going to be our orange. And so I'm starting with this YR12 and adding it where I want my shadow. And I'm using the same colors on the hat as I am the scarf. Kept it pretty simple. And then I went in with my YR02. And I'm going to blend those edges. These are pretty similar colors, but it is starting to soften things a bit. And then I'm going to finish it off with the YR00. So we have a nice little highlight going on in the center of the scarf and the tips and top of the hat. And I just colored outside of the lines, as I often do when I'm live. I don't know, my eyeballs when I'm live. Always go outside of the lines. So I am grabbing my white gel pen, which is just a Jelly Roll 08. And I get it warmed up on the tip of my finger. And where I colored outside of the lines, I just color over it with my white gel pen. And only you guys will know that, not anybody else. Karen says, note to self, 2026, I will make holiday cards throughout the year. Yay. I should have listened to Jenn and get cracking on Christmas starting in January. I will say starting in January and getting that momentum going is really nice because I don't know about you guys, but like we don't take down the tree right away, right after Christmas. We wait until after the new year. You kind of still have holiday supplies out from maybe making some gift tags or whatever. So you're kind of in that mode. And then being in New England here, February's still cold. So I'm still kind of in that cozy mode. And you kind of get the momentum going before those awkward months come, which are the summer months where it just feels a little weird. Let's see. Brienne says, I would like my office plaque to say, Queen of all things, Jenn, please. Thank you. Marian says, Brienne, the queen of all things, Jenn, could probably cross-reference the comparison from your blog post. I swear Brienne knows everything. Brienne does know everything. She is amazing and super smart on all the linking things. All right, so before I put my YR12 away, this is what I use just to color their carrot noses. I was gonna do a little bit of blending and shading, and I decided not to. I decided to just keep it simple. Sometimes we don't have to go crazy. And I don't want to forget this guy over here, but we're just going to keep it simple. All right, next I did yellow. And yellow is really tricky to get any dimension to show, but I also still wanted to keep it pretty soft. So I didn't bring in Y17. Again, I wanted it to be really nice and subtle. So I'm going to start with Y15 as my darkest. And I'm just going to kind of start to add some shadow on. And then what I did on the scarf is I traced these little stripes, but I went a little bit in the lines and a little bit out of the lines, if that makes sense. Just to kind of, and I'm not going to let that color go far because I'm going to end up adding more of that back in after I finish coloring. And I often have to do that when I am working with lighter colors, sometimes pink, always yellow, sometimes orange, depending on the blend. And then we're going to just finish this off with Y11, which is kind of my trick to be able to get a highlight with yellow because it is really tricky to get a highlight with yellow. And then while things are still wet from blending, I'm just going to go back in with my Y15 and dab in a little bit more shadow just to kind of give it that dramatic look. Yay, yay, yay. Thanks for popping in, Marianne. Good luck with your puppy's yearly visit. Tracy looked, she's sad. She doesn't own this set. Or maybe it's hiding in my address book with all of her postage stamps. Tracy went to send holiday cards and she's now missing her address book and her holiday stamps, postage stamps. I said that they're all going to turn up as soon as Christmas is over because that's how it goes. But I bet you have other Snow People sets in your stash and you can still color them rainbow. Sarah says, I started my card making adventure within the last couple years. At first I said I would never start making Christmas cards. That was before I saw Lawn Fawn and the Christmas dill pickles. I love that so much. So fun. So for green, this YG09, I am also just using it very sparingly because it is a very dark color. And again, I was really trying to keep things really light and bright. So not only am I only drawing on very little, I'm not pressing my marker down hard. I'm doing very light brush strokes. And that way it's not letting a lot of ink down. It's just letting very, very little bit down. All right. So I'm going to take the YG05 and I'm going to go right over what I just did. And those of you guys that are looking for this stamp set, if you purchased it from Trinity Stamps, I could be wrong, but I do believe it is a newer stamp set, meaning it came out this fall. So if that helps you know whether you purchased it or not, there you go. But again, I could be wrong on that. So now I'm just doing YG01 to fill in and give a highlight. I'm trying to remember. I don't think, I think I did color the band here. So I'm going to do that. Spoiler alert, I'm going to add glitter to it. So sometimes once I've added glitter, it's a little bit trickier to see the light colors under the glitter. All right, so now we're going to do my lovely teal, BG13, BG32, BG11. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Janice. So Janice had to take some time away from work due to health problems, but she was able to make over 120 holiday cards. I love that. Heather says, I think for 2026, I'm just going to stamp out all my Christmas images and then at least get them all colored during Get Crackin'. That's a fun idea, Heather. The other thing that I kind of forgot to mention when I was doing my little intro is the way that these lives came about is I had asked a couple years ago in my Facebook group, like if you didn't send holiday cards and you wished you sent holiday cards, why didn't you send holiday cards? Because I was trying to see if there was something I could do to help you guys get some more holiday cards created. And most people mentioned that they had just run out of time. And I was like, well, if I could figure out a way to give you guys time, then I would be a rich card maker, right? But what I decided is I know that when I host a live, many of you will join me. And guess what? This is time. Yeah. So one thing I will just mention, and I know sometimes you're watching from work, maybe you're playing it in the background, but this is your time. So when you join me for Get Crackin' on Christmas next year, for my lives, which I will still be hosting, you can start working on your own holiday cards. You can start stamping out images, getting some sentiment die cuts done. Like Heather was mentioning, she's going to start getting her coloring done. All of those types of things while you're watching me will allow you to have time, right? So that was my thought process. And so just like I did this year, in the coming year, I will always post my card of the month on the third Thursday of the month. And on that post, I will share when my live is going to be. And it's really not ever on that third Thursday of the month. I did it this month because it's the last one of the year and Christmas is fast approaching. So I didn't want to do it tomorrow or into next week. But typically it is the next week that I host the live, because then I figure you guys will get a little bit of a heads up. I used to try to do it always on the third Thursday, but it just, life happens. So, but I will always share my card on the third Thursday of the month. And there was a couple months I didn't have a card, or, life happened, or I was away on vacation. I don't really remember, but for the most part, every month I share a card with you guys. So Mary says, I'm newer to you, Jen. Well, welcome, Mary. What cardstock do you use for coloring? So I'm using the Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock. I have been using this cardstock for over 20 years. It's all I ever use for coloring with Copics, and I'm hearing rumors that Nina is no longer making this cardstock. So we will have to find a new cardstock if that's the case. But I still stock it in my online shop. And I'm pretty sure Lawn Fawn's 80-pound white cardstock that they're stocking is still this, which is my favorite. All right, so I threw in that blue violet there. So we got teal, we got a little blue violet, and then I did a fun combo for purple, something a little different than my typical V15, V12. I did V04, V01, and V000. Mary, I have a really, if you're new to coloring with markers, I have a Copic 101 blog post, which I know Brienne will be amazing and link in the chat. And it shows all the supplies I use, and it shows my favorite colors and all that jazz. So definitely check that out as well. So this is kind of a magenta purple, kind of a little different, but I thought would be fun. Since I did the BVs of these, I figured switch it up a little bit. Oh, I almost forgot a scarf, and do a different purple combo than my usual. Again, things I wouldn't do if I was stressed and rushing to get my cards done is trying different color combos or experimenting with different color palettes. You know, when you're busy, you go to what you know. But when you have a little bit more time, you play and experiment. Now, I do have a whole Get Crackin' on Christmas playlist here on YouTube. So if maybe after the holidays, I know sometimes people take time off from work between the holidays and the new year, and you're in the mood, you could throw that playlist on for some holiday card inspiration. So yeah. Libby says she colors on the 110-pound, no problem. That's good to know. I think it's just what I'm used to. I never really liked coloring on the 110, but we'll see. We'll see what I'll have to do if it is discontinued. I find when I color with the purple markers, I do have to kind of go back and forth and do a little bit, go through all the colors and then go back to the dark and back to the medium to kind of get things to smooth out a little bit better. Monique, who is in, I believe Monique's in the Netherlands. She's watching while she's having dinner. I can't believe it. All my Christmas cards are in the mail right now. Yay. I love that, Monique. That is so awesome. So happy for you. All right. So what I did, I forgot to color the little holly leaf. So I'm going to grab my YG05 and do that. And then what I did to give these guys a little bit of dimension is I'm going to use my BG11, my BG0000, and my 0. And I'm going to add just a little bit of color to the dimension. And I'm just going to use the shadow lines that are provided on our stamp. So wherever these little shadow lines, and then maybe I'll put a little bit under their hats. And then they've got the cutest little feet, these little snow people. So I'm putting a little bit of shadow on the base of their feet as well. But this is just a little bit of BG11. We're going to do a little bit more in a minute. But basically just where the stamp tells us to. We don't need to figure it out on our own, which is so nice. Oh my gosh, their little snowball feet are just the cutest. I love them so much. Oh my gosh, almost forgot this guy. My lone soldier over here. I'll even dab a little bit on the ground. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this BG 40, which is so light that when you use it, it's going to look really messy because it's wetting the cardstock. And it's going to look messy until that alcohol evaporates. So you kind of have to just trust the process, which with practice, you'll get better at trusting that process. But I'm basically swiping this really light blue over where I did the BG11 so that it is softening that color, softening the line so it doesn't look so harsh. And I'm swiping over it a couple times, like, 2 or 3-ish times. I feel like I want a little bit of shadow under this scarf. There's that sneeze I had a while ago. Finally came. Excuse me. But I'm just brushing. And again, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but when you're doing this in person, you're like, oh no, I ruined it. Because it does. It just looks like a hot mess. But trust the process. And when everything evaporates and dries, it's going to look great. And this is something you can do, but you don't have to do. I just take my 0 marker, which is they call it a blender, but to me it's an eraser. And I'm just brushing it where the color leaves off. So I'm not brushing it over like I did the other 2 colors. I am just brushing right alongside where those BGs left off. And that's just kind of furthering the softness of it. Okay. And that also is going to make your cardstock look really wet. And things are not going to look so great until the alcohol evaporates. All right. So I try to keep it real easy. So that it is not overwhelming. All right. Thank you, Miss Brienne, for linking the Copic 101 blog post. And Libby says, I'm not loyal to one white cardstock. Yeah, I typically, years ago, I used to have lots of different cardstocks in my studio, and it just got way too confusing. So I'm pretty loyal, but I don't follow astrology much, but I am a Taurus, and that's a common trait of a Taurus is being extremely loyal. And if you look at me and the supplies I use the same stuff over and over and over. It's because I'm so loyal. Annie made cards for her mother-in-law to send to her friends. Yay. And now she's addressing hers. I love that. And Yuko says she really loves the BG11. It's BG11 BG0000 combo. She says it's a game changer for me. Yay. I love that. All right. So next what I did with these little guys is because I stamped them in gray, but they have coal on their buttons, right? I went in and took my Micron 08 pen, and I'm just going to color over their coal. I didn't get into, on this stack of snowmen, I did not get into doing their eyes and their mouth or anything like that. One, because I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't want to not trace it well and have them look like zombie snowmen. So I am just doing their buttons with the black Micron pen. I'm using an 08. You could use a smaller one as well. Then on this guy, he distinctively has coal as his mouth. So I am going to go ahead and be brave and color over those. And I am going to color right over his eyes, even though he has those white spots. I'm going to put those white spots back in with a white gel pen. But I'm just going over all the coal bits. And I love that since we stamped in that gray, which is nice and subtle. It's nice to kind of make those coal parts really pop, right? And so now I'm going to take my white gel pen, and on this little guy, he had little white flecks in his eyes. So I'm just adding those back in with my gel pen. Okay. Instead of trying to color over it. Okay. Yay. Laura says, I love these colors. What have all of my 80+ cards made, but still need to address and fill them out? Hoping this weekend. There you go, Laura. You'll get them done. Carla's here late. She's asking what ink I used. I'm using Lawn Fawn River Rock. It's alcohol marker friendly, and it works with watercoloring as well. Brienne just linked it for you in the chat, Carla. Also, if you're watching on replay, in the description of the video, I have all of the colors, all of the supplies listed for you as well. All right, so now we're going to get into working on our background. And I really wanted a very soft background. So when I'm doing backgrounds, I like to use larger blending brushes when I am trying to do a whole background. But when I want something very soft in coloring, I have found that the Pink Fresh, the 1-inch blending brushes work really, really great for a softer ink application. And so I just talk about, I don't think you need every supply out there, but definitely different tools are going to give you different looks, which it's just good to know what you're gonna get, right? So I have a piece of Distress White Heavy Stock for my background. And then I have a smaller piece of Distress White Heavy Stock that I'm also going to blend. Now, what I decided, I mentioned at the beginning of this live, I was going to kind of use the word stack and die cut those out of alphabet dies and have that word big and then do the rest of the sentiment small. And it didn't work out for my card design. So what I decided to do, and I don't often do this, but I decorated the inside of my card. And I actually get questions from you guys a lot. What do you put on the insides? What do you decorate on the inside? And I typically do not decorate the inside of my cards because I usually want to write a message. And my handwriting isn't very small. And so this way it gives me gives me all the space I need. However, I really loved this die from Trinity Stamps, and I wanted to carry the rainbow in from the front to the inside. Now, something that I learned, and this is what I love too about hosting my lives, is I create my card and then I get a chance to create it again and maybe fine tune my technique. I was having a hard time keeping all the rainbow colors in this space because I kept my panel like a rectangle like this. But what I'm going to try, and I don't know if this is going to work, but what I'm going to try is to cut down some of this cardstock so it's more the shape of my die. And this way I'll hopefully be able to get more of the pink and the purple in my blend. We'll see. I don't know. This might not help at all. I was able to buff in some pink up there after the fact, but I figured getting those corners out of the way will allow me to know what I am blending, what shape I'm blending. Libby says, Libby just said that I don't typically have a card base because it's a postcard. Yes, I'm proud to say that only 30% of my 118 cards did not have card bases. That's what I worked on Sunday watching the Patriots game, is I put everything on a card base that needed it. And then Libby says, I'm so organized for my live. I don't know about that, Miss Libby. If you saw what's happening outside the parameters. Yeah, and Heather just said, assuming there is an inside of the card. All right, you guys all know me so well. I have a hard time getting my card fronts onto card bases. And Karen says that they're trying to stamp and decorate the inside more, just a little. I think that's fun, Karen. Yay. Well, thank you for sharing this video, Florna. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to start ink blending. Now, I am going to ink blend with regular Distress inks because I want that really soft coloring. And regular Distress inks are translucent, so when we overlap two colors, we're going to get a nice in-between color. And I like to, whenever I'm doing a rainbow, I like to start with yellow so that it doesn't get overpowered by the other colors. We can kind of establish its place because it is the lightest color. And I'm using squeezed lemonade, which is even lighter. Of course, I'm using my ink stands because they are the best in all of the land to hold my ink pad in place. I ink up my blending brush. I tap it off on my non-porous surface that I'm working on. I have a glass tabletop, and I'm going to just start to blend in somewhat of a diagonal line. And like I said, these blending brushes from Pink Fresh are going to allow you to have a very, very soft dusting of color. You, of course, can build up that by adding more layers, but I really did just want a soft dusting of color. So I'm not going to build up my layers too much, but I do just want to get this squeezed lemonade established. Let's see, how do you decide where to place your colors on a stacked or clustered stamp like this one? Well, honestly, to be very honest, I typically would start with pink and go down to purple. But this time I kind of thought about it a minute and I decided to switch it up. So I went one step down and started pink, orange, yellow, green, teal. This guy's separate, so I colored him separately, and then I put purple at the top. Maybe I put purple at the top because I really, really love Brienne and Libby. Maybe. All right, so we've got yellow on our background established, and now I'm going to try to get some yellow on this piece that I am going to end up die cutting the background for Merry Christmas. So we're going to get some yellow on here. I will say these blending brushes, it is harder to get smaller areas blended. I could bring in this size blending brush that I like from Honeybee Stamps and be very, very gentle. Maybe actually I'll do that. So I'll still get my soft color, but I'll be able to direct it into a smaller area. Yeah, maybe we'll do this again since we're live and we don't want things to go awry while I'm live. Okay, let's see. Brienne says card bases are my least favorite part of card making. I know. Well, and honestly, the cards just photograph a lot better when I don't have them on card bases. And then once I get something photographed, I'm running off to the next task. So, all right, I'm using isopropyl alcohol just to clean off my table with my lovely flower sackcloth. And now I'm going to move on up to orange. And again, I'm going for soft. So I'm going to use dried marigold. And I have a blending brush for each color family. I have ink blending tools from Ranger for every distress ink. But if I were to use an ink blending tool, my colors would be a lot more intense, which sometimes I want that look. But in this case, I want very, very soft colors. So we're using dried marigold here, which I think mimics my Copic markers pretty well as well. So we're going to add a band of orange. And then we're going to bring in this panel for our inside. Oh, you know what? I'm going to use my blending brush. And we just want it to stay nice and soft. Yay, Libby says, by the way, I'm wearing my favorite coffee and crafting long sleeve t-shirt shirt merch. I love that. I'm guessing it's purple if it's your favorite. It's called Amethyst, which when Josie and I are doing inventory and checking in product, we call it Aerosmith instead of Amethyst. It's the little things that we have to do to make not fun tasks be more fun. All right, so now I'm going to bring the pink down from the top here. Since I don't have to control the size, I'm going to still use these big brushes, and I'm going to bring it right into that orange. I just think that's such a pretty blend. And we're going to do the same thing up here. Bringing some pink down. Thank you, Sue. She says, I like your tip of starting with yellow. Yeah, I always like to just kind of establish that lightest color first. That way it has a chance. It has a chance in the competition of the rainbow because the other colors are a lot more intense. And so if we can at least give it some space, we can work around it. All right. So now I am going to grab, for my green, I decided to use cracked pistachio. I could have used twisted citron if I wanted, but I decided to use cracked pistachio. Again, just kind of going for this light color, this light background, and switching it up a little bit. Right? You can see as we do darker colors, the inking process doesn't take as long. Bye. Thanks for popping in. Good luck, Sherry, with work. I always tap off my blending brush after re-inking because you don't want too much ink on your brush. You can always add more ink in, but it's pretty much impossible to take ink away. And I'm just cleaning off my table in between colors so we don't get contamination of those previous colors. All right. So now for my teal, I am going to use Salvaged Patina, which is a nice light teal. Whoops. I'm going to flip my cardstock over, make ink blending easier for me. And because this is such a light color, it does take a bit to even build up a soft layer. And full disclosure, my Salvaged Patina ink pad probably needs a little bit of re-inking. So it will probably just take me a second more. Tracy says cracked pistachio is her favorite distress color. I love that. It is a pretty color. Kind of forget to use it, and it gives a whole different look to a rainbow blend when you are using it. All right, it's looking pretty. And then we're going to add some of this on here. Now what I'm going to do, I am going to make room for purple, but I'm just going to make this whole bottom corner teal. And then I can just go over it with a touch of purple. Again, working on a non-porous surface, any of that ink I've tapped off or dropped off, I'm brushing it into my project. So you're wasting a lot less of your ink when you work on a non-porous surface. Not to mention it blends easier working on a non-porous surface. All right. Shaded lilac is what I decided to use for purple. Let me actually just clean my table real quick. I need to refill my little mister bottle of isopropyl alcohol. I've actually been saying that for a few days now, and I keep putting it off. Oh boy. And it's not even that difficult. The bottle of isopropyl alcohol is literally, I can reach it from here. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why? All right, so we're going to dust in some shaded lilac. What's remaining for white space here? Nice and soft and pretty. Bring it right up into that Salvaged Patina. All the colors, I made sure I brought my next color right up into, so there is some overlapping. And I just love, love, love how that looks. All right, so we're going to get some shaded lilac in here. You know what? I actually think I'll use my blending brush for this, just so I can really get some in here. And once I die cut this background shape, I can always dust in a little bit more pink or a little bit more shaded lilac if needed, which is exactly what I did last time because I didn't have the shape cut and I really omitted a lot of the pink and purple when I die cut it. All right. Heather says, I love shaded lilac. Is it purple? Yes. Is it blue? Also, yes. I agree. It's pretty. It's different. All right. So next what we are going to do is I added just a subtle amount of stamped snowflakes. These are included in the stamp set, the variety of single snowflakes. And then I also stamped some of them in the inside of my card base. So we can do this at the same time to kind of save us time. So I'll have my background and I have my card base. Now, the first thing I want to do with my background is I want to trim it down to be 4 by 5 1/4. So I'll have a little bit of white space. And I want to do this first. I don't know. I could do it after I stamp, which is probably what I did when I originally made the card. But I want to make sure that I'm not cutting off too many snowflakes and such. So I'm going to trim it now just to kind of keep things easy. Of course, I got something on my background here, but that's okay. A gem can go there or a snowman. We'll figure it out. All right, so I am going to open up my card base here and I have my background and I'm going to work with just a small acrylic block. I like the Lawn Fawn 2.5 and the 1.75. And because I want these snowflakes to show up, what I'm going to do is actually use Distress Oxides on top. So Distress Oxides have an opaque property, a pigment property to them. So they're going to stamp really nicely, which regular Distress does not stamp very nicely. And I am going to be able to have that ink sit on top of what we ink blended. Now, all of the colors, I'm using exactly what I blended, except for the yellow. I just kind of felt like squeezed lemonade is not going to show up as nice on top because it is such a light color. So I actually used mustard seed on top, but when I stamped on the inside, I used squeezed lemonade. If that doesn't make sense, let me know if you guys have questions. But that was just kind of my thought process in my brain. So the set has all of these really cute little single snowflakes, which I think is so fun. Brienne says that she's shocked I didn't use Lawn Fawn's outside in stitch rectangle. I know. Sometimes I just like, you know, just a clean edge, no stitching. Oh no, Heather says nothing gives me more anxiety than watching you use that trimmer. She has PTSD from using a food slicer. I think it'd be really hard to cut yourself with that trimmer because of the guides that are on it, but I could be wrong. Who knows? All right, so what I'm going to do is start with my yellow, right? Same thing. So I can get yellow established. And I personally don't want to stamp the same snowflake twice in the same color. So I'm just switching up snowflakes and working my way around and stamping them. Now, my snowmen are going to sit here, right? So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time stamping anything where they're going to be sitting. And I don't want snowflakes everywhere. I just wanted like a little sprinkle of snow, just a little sprinkle. We didn't want a flurry. We just wanted a little dusting, okay? And then on the inside, let me go ahead and die cut this so I'll know the shape that I'm working with for the inside. So I'm definitely going to take a piece of Best Ever craft tape to hold this in place because I cut it so close. I don't want it to move when I'm die cutting it. And I'm just die cutting it off screen with my big die cut machine. I could have done it on my small one too, but I've got so much going on my desk right now. I'll just do that. So let's see. Oh yeah, see, now I have a little bit of every color, which is exactly what I wanted, right? So this is going to go in here and we're going to stamp a couple snowflakes, but I do want them to be squeezed lemonade. So I'll bring in my Distress Oxide because that's going to stamp nicely. It's actually what I use when I want to stamp the most. It's what I use the most to stamp. Does that make sense? I ink blend with other inks, but when I want to stamp images or sentiments in color, I use Distress Oxides. All right. So you can see, I'm just kind of, see how I have my diagonal line of yellow? I am just figuring out where to stamp. And of course we want some snowflakes to peek out from this background. Okay, so that's the process we're going in. All right, so now for every other color, I used the same exact one that I ink blended. I didn't switch it up. Okay. Bye, Miss Brienne. All right, so now we're going to do dried marigold. And on the front, it's pretty easy. I just have this habit of wanting to just stamp with the same snowflake over and over and over. So my big thing is just switching up the snowflakes, remembering to switch up the snowflakes, right? That's the trickiest part, especially when I'm talking to you guys. I just start stamping and not paying attention to what I'm doing, which is the story of my life. Okay. And then I'm going to do one more dried marigold on the front. You'll see I'm stamping off the edge, clustering them near each other. And then we'll come over here, whoops, and do some dried marigold. I love how Brienne said she had to go, but she threw in at least one last little link there in the chat for us. I appreciate that. A link to the blog post. And I thought this was so pretty just to do a little sprinkling of snowflakes on the inside on the white, just kind of carrying over the design from the front. All right, we'll do Kitsch Flamingo next. This one big snowflake is so cute. It actually has like a little smiley face in the center. So I didn't want to use it too much because I feel like it would have been more noticeable, but it's like adorable. I think it's adorable. There are coordinating dies for all of these snowflakes as well. So I almost thought about stamping a few in color and die cutting them and popping them up. But I didn't end up doing that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do some on the inside. I think I will do another one of those smiley face snowflakes because it's just the cutest. Question, are you stamping with the oxide so that it'll sit on top of the ink? In this case, yes. But in general, if I'm stamping something in a colored ink, I will more often grab my Distress Oxides versus a Pink Fresh ink or a Lawn Fawn ink because of the oxide property, because of that pigment property that's in oxides. I just feel like you get a nicer stamped image. But bye, Annie. Thanks for popping in. So that's also why I'm doing it like on the inside. Does that make sense? The pigment properties in your Distress Oxides lend them to stamp very nicely. I actually don't own a lot of different brands of ink pads. Not that it's bad if you do, but I don't. So, but I just kind of will use my oxides to kind of fill in and give me a lot more colors. So, yeah. Hopefully that answered your question. All right, we'll do one more. Well, actually, that's a lie. I like to do odd numbers. But I'm feeling like I want a little bit more on the front. So there's 4, so I'll just do one more to make 5. Okay. Good. Heather says it makes sense. Yay. All right, so then I'm going to grab my Salvaged Patina Distress Oxide. And if you guys didn't know, all of the Distress Oxides come in mini cubes now. So if space is an issue, obviously we all have budgets. It's more affordable to buy the minis. And so you could add these to your supplies a little bit more affordably, which is nice. They just came out with the rest of the minis at the beginning of December. I actually have a fun post. Maybe I'll get it done today. It's going to hopefully be a reel, so it takes me a little bit longer to get things done when editing videos is involved. But I made some fun projects with the new oxides. All right. Now we got last one. We have Shaded Lilac, and then we'll start to put it all together. And I have some fun things I did for my finishing touches. I'm going to use this cute smiley face snowflake again. Again, I didn't want to overuse it, but I did want to use it so that it's get some real estate on my card because it's seriously so cute. And stamping all of these individual snowflakes with an acrylic block, I just think makes things a lot faster than necessarily using your stamping platform. I love a stamping platform, but some things it's just faster and makes more sense to use an acrylic block. All right, so there we go. We've got our 2 backgrounds done. Done. And I've got a tower of distress inks over here off camera. All right, so next what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I pre-cut the front layer for our inside sentiment. And I use the Lawn Fawn Pixie Dust Sparkle cardstock, which is just a really pretty white sparkle. Always good to have on hand. Use it all year round. And I am just going to use a little bit of glue tube on the back to adhere it. My glue tube is getting to its last leg, so it tends to be a bit temperamental. We'll see if I need to grab a new one. But I'm just adding a little bit of glue here and there. You could also use your double-sided adhesive sheets for this and just make it a sticker. Honestly, I just forget to use them. When I go to glue something, I'm like, oh, I should have used a double-sided adhesive sheet. And then I already have it cut, so I'm like, I'll just deal. I will just deal. Tracy says she loves the snowflakes. I know, right? Colored paper snowflakes are the best. Oops. All right. And then I kind of just let these fall into place because they know their shape. Paper knows what it's supposed to do. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead, and just stick, I have a bigger acrylic block. I'm just going to put that on it, let it weigh it down and set it off on the side while we do some other stuff to the front of our card. Okay. So we've got our front of our card, and I am going to add that colored panel with some foam tape on the back so that it's popped up. Are you guys ready for the holidays? We are not doing a ton this year. We're just going to kind of do stocking stuffers because we've got some big things we want to do next year. So we figure we'll save a little money. And honestly, if Chris and I want something, we just buy it for ourselves. You know, so we're like, let's just not do gifts this year, but we'll do stocking stuffers. So I have a little bit more I need to do for that. My dad said I'm not allowed to buy him anything for Christmas, and he was kind of grumpy about it. So I should probably listen, but I probably will still do stocking stuffers for him because I use that time to get him some like practical things that he appreciates, and then he doesn't have to spend the money on it. So yeah. All right. Got that on there. And then I added my snow people with foam. And then I also die cut the stack up the holiday cheer sentiment from the stamp set. Comes with the coordinating die. I love, love, love when sentiments come with coordinating dies. It's like the best thing ever, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and just add foam behind everything. Pop up all of the things. Should honestly probably be my next, maybe not shirt design, but maybe my next sticker design. Pop up all of the things. I just love the way it looks on a card. And I feel like it doesn't cost a ton. And it just adds some really, really good dimension. All right, so we want to make sure that there's room for this little guy over here, okay? And I probably could have put my images down like I did my die cut on the inside to make sure I wasn't going to cover any of them up with snowflakes, but I typically don't overthink stuff that much. You know, I try not to, at least. All right, Denise is almost ready. Some last minute things to get, but mostly ready. I love that. And I do like to go off the edge, but keep it within the card base. Now it looks a little unbalanced over here, but we're going to add some gems, so that'll fix that. Tracy says we're the same about not doing gifts. They're going to do practical stuff. I mean, Tracy, we both know if we want something, we just get it, right? Throughout the year. Right? Right. Okay. So next what we are going to do is add, we're not going to add the gems yet. Let's add this on the inside, our sentiment. Look how pretty with that rainbow ombre. And this I adhered flat inside my card because it's on the inside and we don't want it to bulk up the inside. And just kind of place it just like that. Okay. And then we get into some of the fun, which I've really learned lately. Like, I love all the finishing details. And so for this guy, I'm going to add some Prisma glitter, which I could have done before I put it on the card, but we'll do it now. And I'll share with you my clean glittering tricks once it's on the card. So I'm going to be using my Sakura Quickie glue pen, which is the best. And I'm going to use some Lawn Fawn Prisma glitter. And I keep it stored in my glitter storage container so that I keep my ultrafine glitter contained, which will keep the mess to a minimum. I don't have messy glitter everywhere, even though I literally glitter every single day. And I'm going to go ahead and just add some of this Quickie glue pen wherever I want the glitter to stick. And what I did, I'm not going to do any on the snowman. I have something fun I'm going to do, but I just added a little bit on the shadows of the scarf and the hat. And then also on the band, that white band that I left, and the white parts of the candy cane. And you'll see how I'm doing little bits. Okay, I'm only going in little areas. One, because the Quickie glue pen dries really quickly. And two, because I'm bringing the glitter up to my project like this, I'm using the cap on the back of the pen like a scoop. I don't want to do too much at once because that's where things can get messy. And I love that my glitter storage container, I'm able to fit my card over it at an angle like that so that everything, again, stays contained. My glitter, if it's not on my card, it is in the bucket. And that's it. It's nowhere else. I never touch the glitter. And I don't have it all over my desk. And then that's how I keep ultrafine glitter really nice and clean. Because I get it. Some people don't like to use ultrafine glitter because they think it's super messy, but I don't think it has to be. I think we can have the best of both worlds. And I love, love, love just using the back of my pen like this, like a scoop. And you just bring a little bit up. Now, because I ink blended and because we have heat running here in Massachusetts, some of the glitter is static clinging to my background. So I'm going to show you guys in a minute what I'm going to do to fix that as well. Okay. What brand glitter? So this is the Lawn Fawn Prisma glitter. I have it linked in the caption of this video. And then if you're live with me, I have a pinned comment at the top, which is the supply list. And so you can get it directly from Lawn Fawn. I carry it in my online store, and many, many other people carry it as well. It's my favorite Prisma glitter. I also carry the Quickie glue pens, which is the only brand of glue pen I've been using for probably 20 years now. It's the best. I like that you can get really, really nice detail. Okay. And then I also have these glitter storage containers in my online shop too. So you can glitter all of the things in the new year, right? So you'll see, I don't have glitter all over the place. I might have a couple teeny specks on my fingers, but they're not everywhere. However, because of the winter months and because I ink blended, so there's still moisture in my cardstock, there is some static cling. So what I do is I just take a dry brush and over my glitter container, I just brush it off. Just like this. And that'll get rid of all of that extra static cling. Okay, but I do it right over my container. And now we don't have any of that extra glitter. Okay. But if you know me, you know I am not done glittering yet. Not done yet. No, no, no. I wanted the snowmen to really look snowy. So I am going to use some of the Distress Rock Candy, which is a bit of a thicker glitter. And because it's thicker, I like to use my Distress Collage Medium. I say so that it holds on to the chunk. And what I did is I'm going to take the Distress Collage Medium, and this stays wet a little bit longer. So I have a little bit more time to work. But what I'm going to do is I'm dabbing some Collage Medium where those shadow lines are on the stamped image. That's where I chose to do this. And I'm just adding a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to go down into the snow here. It comes out cloudy, but it will dry clear, so you don't have to worry about that. And I also added a little bit in the shadows on their feet because, man, oh man, I just think the fact that there are feet on these snow people is so, so cute. Okay, I'm just looking at my original card. I think that's it. But then what I did, a little kind of trick that I don't always do, but I'm just going to take a paintbrush and I'm just going to kind of thin this collage medium out, spread it out a little bit into the snow person. You want to make sure once you do this, you get your paintbrush into some water because you'll ruin your paintbrush because it has adhesive on it. But I just didn't want things to look super chunky monkey, but I wanted it to look more like snow. Okay. And again, the Distress Collage Medium, you have a little bit more time to work. It's going to stay wet a little bit longer. I just noticed a few little snow people lines I forgot. So I'm just kind of dabbing it out, just feathering it out, spreading it out. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead. Again, this is Distress Rock Candy Clear. And I'm going to go generous with it, working right over my glitter storage container. I do a gentle tap with the back of my spoon. And then again, at an angle, my card will fit right over that bucket. So I'm tapping it off. I'm having that same static issue. Mainly it is because my ink blending is still damp. So you just take your dry brush and brush it right back into your container. You want to avoid your collage medium areas when you're dry brushing. And of course, once this is dry, you can do it again, right? There we go. All right. So that's what I did for snow. And then let me just show you my finished card over here. You can kind of just see it gives that chunky, crystally, icy look, which I just love. And it looks different than what we did with Prismaglitter, which I also love. Like, I just like having the different textures on your card. Excuse me. I just think it looks really, really cool. But I still wasn't done. The next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to add some dimension to their coal and their carrot noses. So I'm going to use some glossy accents. Using like the baby bottle of glossy accents, I just think is so much easier to manage. So I'm just dabbing it onto their carrot noses and their coal buttons. And again, super inexpensive embellishment, but it adds a lot to the card, I feel. This will take a good half hour-ish to dry, so I'm working kind of backwards so that I'll be able to like leave things alone. Okay, cute, cute. And then the last thing that I did is I did add some gems, and I'll just share with you what inspired that is on the inside of my card. And I'll have to do this part later now that I have glossy accents on the front. But I often don't worry about keeping the tittle for the letters, the dot of the I. I like to use that situation to do a cute little gem. So that's what I did. And then I carried the gem onto the front of my card. So I used some of the Pink Fresh Glacier jewels. And I'm just going to kind of pick out a few. And by a few, I mean 5. I definitely like to do odd numbers when I'm doing that. Thank you so much, Kevin. Said cute card. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm using my Lawn Fawn Pick Up Pokey tool. And we're going to go ahead and add some gems. I just think looks super cute. And this also will help balance my card since I have nothing over on this right side, but I do have a snowman on my left side. At least I think it will. Okay. So I kind of get my jewels in place, the ones that I want to use, and we can use Collage Medium or Lawn Fawn glue tube. It doesn't matter. But I just use the Pick Up Pokey tool, pick up the jewel. I'm going to place a little bit of Distress Collage Medium. Look at that. It's going right over my little smudge I accidentally did earlier. And then I just place my jewel into it. Now, I do not press down. And if my jewel tumbles and doesn't lay flat, I just use the pokey part to pick it up. Sit it on top of that adhesive. Gravity will do its course and everything will settle and lay flat once this glue dries. But I don't like to press down because if I press down, glue is going to ooze out of the sides. And even though it does dry clear and matte, I just don't like that look. And I often like to kind of tuck a little gem underneath the die cut popped up thing, whatever it is. So I did that on both the top and the bottom. I typically put my gems in a diagonal line, which is like kind of what I did here. And then I always use an odd number. Always is kind of how I roll. Okay. And so that is December 2025's Get Crackin' on Christmas. Tracy says, all worth investing in, meaning all the different glitters. She is a converted glitterer. I love that. I love it. I love that you're a converted glitterer. So this is the original one that I made that's nice and dry. Once the front of this dries, I will go ahead and add a little dot on my eye. I don't have that on the inside of mine right now, and I'm not going to lift it up because I don't want anything to move. But super cute, super sparkly, nice and bright and cheery for those winter months, to give somebody a fun little happy mail. I'll tell you, I think people still appreciate handmade cards so much, especially the more and more we get into the land of technology, right? So let me know if you guys, those of you that have joined me live, let me know if you guys have any last minute questions and I'll answer those. I will be continuing on Get Crackin' on Christmas in 2026. The next Get Crackin' on Christmas is January 22nd. So Yuko just said, newbie question, how often are your Get Crackin' on Crackin' classes? So they are done throughout the year. I always post my Get Crackin' on Christmas card on my website on the third Thursday of the month. So it just so happens that it will be January 22nd. And then within that post, I will announce and link when my live will be. So you can always come to my website on the third Thursday of the month. I will have my project posted, and there'll be a link to the next YouTube live where you'll be able to go right on over to my YouTube channel, tap the bell so that you're alerted when I go live. And then that way throughout the year, even if you don't want to make your holiday cards throughout the year, that's okay. But hopefully throughout the year, I will inspire you and teach you some new tips and tricks. And again, I use a variety of brands and styles throughout the year, which is one thing that I super, super love. Thank you so much, Karen. I love that. Happy holidays to you. And real quick, before you guys go, I just want to remind you guys, I have some fun stuff available. Coming up on January 9th, I'll be hosting a free class with Kelly Marie over on the Lawn Fawn YouTube channel. So this is something free that you can attend as well. There is a downloadable handout. There is coloring guides and all of that jazz. And then I will be doing a coordinated class. A Mole Lot of Love is coming soon. I'll be hosting that at the end of January. I think it's January 24th. The date is on my website. I don't have the signups for that available just yet, but you can sign up for a stock notification. And you can be able to be alerted once I do have signups available. I'll be working on that real soon. And if you're looking for a creative journey, especially as the holidays end and we have a little bit more free time, I do still have some creative journey art retreat boxes ready to ship to you. You get over $200 worth of product, stamps and dies and stencils and other fun surprises. Some of the items are exclusive, meaning they're not available out in the public yet. And you'll have card kits to make 15 different cards, and you get access to hours and hours of tutorial videos. You get downloadable handouts and coloring guides, and it truly is a fun creative journey. So you can purchase those over on my website now. Yuko says, will you have time to purchase the supplies before you're live? So let me just explain that a little bit more, because that's a great question, Yuko. So the purpose of my lives for Get Crackin' on Christmas specifically is not, I love to enable you and I love to inspire you maybe to purchase a new supply here and there. But the Get Crackin' on Christmases are more to encourage you to shop your stash. So no, usually I post I post my project on the third Thursday of the month. And typically my live is that very next Monday or Tuesday. It is not necessarily meant to be a class per se, where you need to have the specific supplies that I'm using. Now, that does not mean you can't be inspired to purchase those supplies, and you can always come back to the replay of this live. So if you're inspired to purchase the snowman stack from Trinity Stamps, when that comes in the mail, you can come back to this live and watch how I colored it and how I assembled it. But it's not, the lives are not meant to necessarily give you time to get the supplies. I do the live fairly quickly after I post my project. Okay. I would encourage you, like for this case, today I posted the card because it's the third Thursday of the month and the holidays are coming. But in January, whatever card I post, I don't even know what I'm going to make. Honestly, I make them very close to the posting date. But when I post it, it'll give you the weekend. I would encourage you to shop your stash. So if you had saw this card, I would encourage you to pick a bunch of different snowmen. They don't necessarily need to be stacked in a triangle, right? You could have put snowmen in a grid on your card and colored them rainbow. You could have done a horizontal and done a row of snowmen and colored them rainbow. So I would really encourage you to shop your stash and your holiday stamps throughout the Get Krakens. Now, again, if you're inspired and you buy all the supplies, you'll be able to come back to this replay and watch how I created it. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Yuko. Thank you so much, Jenn. Thanks for this Kraken on Christmas, and happy holidays to everyone. I love that so much. Again, hopefully I'll see you in some of my upcoming classes and events. Definitely check those out over on my website. And happy Get Kraken on Christmas for 2025. And I will hopefully see you guys in 2026. Have a happy new year, everybody, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.